Now, we have been gripped to this huge storyline rocking Weatherfield's Roy Cropper, owner of Roy's Rolls. He was accused, of course, of the murder of the teenager Lauren Bolton. It sent shockwaves through Coronation Street. He was almost killed in prison before finally being freed in Friday's episode, because we now know who did do it.
And we're now joined by Shelley King, who plays friend of Roy, Yasmin Metcalfe, who, away from the cobbles, was diagnosed with autism last year at the age of 67. Throughout her acting career, Shelley often struggled with last-minute script changes and found plot twists difficult to adapt to.
Morning, morning.
Good morning, good morning.
Well, this is quite a dramatic twist of your own.
Well, yes, although I don't suppose it came as a surprise to a lot of my friends. They said, really? Oh, I think, OK. This is why you're late all the time. You can't remember things. You know, you fly off the handle occasionally and then apologise profusely. All these things that are sort of emotional regulation things.
Well, this is interesting. So you, about a year ago...
Yes.
What made you go to a specialist and seek a diagnosis? Is it something that you felt that you had experienced all your life?
Well, my partner, Trilby James, her brother is autistic.
Right.
But he's, you know, he cannot live at home, and he's, you know, on another level.
It's a spectrum.
I'm high grade, God help me, but yeah, that's what I'm supposed to be. So, you know, Trilby and I have been together for 27 years, and she's been trying to persuade me to get a diagnosis, or had been for some years, just to help me understand things that have happened in my life. I mean, I'm always late, for instance, and that's because I have to finish things off before I go to the next task. I mean, you were saying, Ed, that learning lines has been a trial for me for the, you know, all my life. That's not so. If I'm doing a play, if I'm playing Thersites or Iago or Robespierre, I know the script, I know the lines. And I work, and we have an 8-week or 4-week or whatever rehearsal period.
So it's changes.
In Coronation Street, things change all the time. If somebody goes ill, you suddenly are doing their scene. So also, when on my first day 10 years ago, when I went into studio, I hadn't met any of the cast before. I mean, you know, I hadn't actually met them. I knew Jimmy Mystery socially, but I didn't actually know people. So I find that very difficult. These are new people. So what happens in Coronation Street took me a good few years to actually, months, to actually get in to know the people I was working with and therefore feel comfortable. I'm not very used to change. Change is not a thing that actually helps me.
There'll be lots of people thinking how brave it was of you to decide to go and find this about yourself. And they may be watching this and thinking, you know, I'm late, or I find meeting people difficult, or I find change hard. And maybe, you know, maybe I should ask these questions of myself. So when you say you were diagnosed, what does that mean? What was the process you went through? How did it happen?
Okay.
What did they find out about you? I mean, it wasn't like kind of doing a blood test or looking into your brain.
I tell you how it happened. Before COVID, a few months before COVID descended upon us, Trilby, my partner, said, why don't we go to the GP and see because you've got to get referred, and had a long phone chat with my GP. And then she said, I think we ought to refer you for this. So that was the first stage. So I told her about things I'd been doing, about difficulties I'd had during my life, you know, from an early stage in my life, my temper, things like that, you know. So then COVID happened. So that was in, say, 2019. So that, hence the delay, because the NHS had a lot to deal with rather than just me. And private diagnoses aren't recognised.
Oh. So you had...
So I had to wait.
Be done officially on the NHS.
Yeah.
Is it a conversation with an expert? Is that fundamentally
you start having a conversation with two people. The first was female, the next was male, and you tell stories. They ask you various questions to make up various things about your past. The first is a long chat about one's past, and habits, and they ask questions, and you answer them. The thing I found really confusing was that I was given initially 4 pages of A4 paper with multiple choice, which for an autistic person is a very difficult thing to do. Multiple choice questions. Everything has a reason. No matter how bizarre you might think it is, I might not think it is, because my brain doesn't work. I don't see things in the same way as you do.
Has it helped?
Yes, it's explained a lot of things about my past, about my educational difficulties sometimes, because the ways of education changed, and from being a very, I think, interesting student, I sort of plummeted, and I didn't like the way I couldn't do SMP maths about topology and Nuffield physics, where you had to experiment to do things. So
amazing.
And I became very insular as well, and put on a lot of weight, and wore a greatcoat.
Well, you talking about it will help lots of other people, which is a great
I
thing
hope
to
so.
do. I just wonder whether, you know, Coronation Street is brilliant at telling personal stories. I wonder whether your character, maybe this would be a story for them too.
Well, yes. I mean, I have had quite a long story. The thing is, I think that this is a question, or this is a condition, if that's what it is, that you need to explore over time. I'm still doing it. It just doesn't go. If you've met one autistic person, you have met one autistic person. Of course. Because so if we are to explore it, I think it would need a great deal of time to do so. Rather like the abuse storyline took 3 years, which in soap time is you know, an age. So I don't know.
We have planted the idea in their mind.
Yeah.
We've planted the idea in their mind.
Great to see you, Shelley. Thank you very much indeed. And just before we let you go, how exciting is it on set right now with this storyline about Roy? He's now free.
Yes.
But we know who did it.
Yes.
Is there a real sense of...
But that's the thing. That's how to tell a story, isn't it?
Yes.
You have to keep people guessing.
Yes.
And then give them the news. And I think that's brilliant.
Sounds just like Love Island.
And he's probably the most autistic character in the whole of Coronation Street. Roy Cropper, because he does things by rote, doesn't he?
Does he have a diagnosis?
Roy Cropper?
Yeah.
I don't know. But maybe that's a story for Roy, actually.
We are workshopping here.
You see?
It's all happening.
Listen, producers, it's my idea. Remember that.
Shelley, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so
Great
much.
to see you.
It's been a pleasure.